Good morning. This is Tracy Cotton from Morrow Insurance Agency in Marion, North Carolina. I just wanted to jump on and do a real quick Friday Periscope on the question of the day. For those of you who are catching this on a replay, we of course post these to YouTube for the Morrow McDowell YouTube channel. And if you happen to see me saying hello to anybody or answering any questions that seem kind of a little off topic, it's because in the live Periscope, it shows up the little boxes, but it might not actually show up on the replay. So thanks so much, Cynthia, for joining this morning. Just wanted to answer the quick question of the day for insurance, small businesses specifically. Hey, Cynthia, thanks so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. If you have not been following at the Smart Chick, she is on Periscope and she talks a lot to entrepreneurs. So if you are a small business, she would be definitely one that you should be following on Periscope because she has great topics about how to get focused on your business and also how to really reach your audience and many, many different topics that have to do especially with entrepreneurs. So if you're a small business, then you really should be following her. We have some other great folks that have joined us. I really do appreciate it. I really wanted just to get on and get a quick couple of things out there about the fact that I get a lot of questions from folks on their workers' compensation policies. So we talked about it yesterday as to why you need it, that you want to make sure that if you've got an employee, whether or not you've got enough employees to be required by the state to have it, or whether or not you just are carrying it because you think it's the right thing to do so that you've got insurance in case someone gets hurt while they're working for you. It's still an expense. And like any other expense, it's always a good idea to have some idea of what you can do yourself to try to mitigate that expense so that you are not paying as much for that type of expense, which in insurance, it's just really hard. There's a lot of expenses and insurance is one of them. And some of the things about insurance you can't really control. One of the things that you can't really control as far as work comp goes is you can't control what kind of business you're in. And so if you are somebody who happens to be building houses, one of the things that you can't really control is the fact that your workers' compensation insurance is going to probably run much more than somebody who is strictly, yes, definitely request annual audits and really make sure that they have you classified properly. That is one of the tips I was going to give everybody, but thanks for putting that in there. I'll get back to that in a second. So what I'm just saying is there's some things you can't control as far as the cost of your workers' and compensation insurance. There's nothing you can do about that kind of cost, but there's things that you can do to try to mitigate them. One of the things that's really helpful when you get workers' compensation insurance is to pay it on time. Continue to pay it, because if you go without it, then you end up with what they call a lapse in coverage. And a lapse in coverage can end up making you pay more because not everybody's going to want to offer you the coverage again, or if they do, they're not going to offer the discounts that they would to somebody who had been carrying it for a while and showing that they were responsible and actually, fiscally responsible by paying and keeping up with their workers' compensation insurance. And so that's one of the things that you can do is to make sure that you're paying it on time and you're paying it regularly, just keeping it up, just keep on keeping your policy. Do look around every couple of years to make sure that you have decided whether or not your agent has the best option for you. Ask them to look around for you if they actually offer more than one company to choose from. But really, the biggest thing that you can do, there's two big things. One does have to do with the audit, is to make sure that you have accurate audits. We're talking about workers' compensation insurance for small businesses. Why would you have employees who need workers' compensation? Okay, that is a good question, and I will go ahead and answer that. If you have employees, the only way for you to cover yourself in case one of them gets hurt and you do something that actually, is part of their business, as your business, then they will need to be covered by a policy that you would provide for them. Sometimes the state requires you to cover it, but definitely you'd want to cover it if you've got employees and you just want to make sure that if they were to get hurt on the job, that you have some way to make sure that their medical bills are taken care of. And that way, you don't have to worry about having a lot of extra money in the bank. So I really wanted to get back at those other couple of things. And thank you. I'm sure that you do know what workers' comp is. Some folks might not. But the things that I wanted to cover, of course, are the audits. That's where every year they look to see if they, and I'm sorry, the question, that wasn't your question about workers' comp. What was your question then? I did want to answer your question if I could. But I thought that your question is, why would you want to have workers' compensation insurance? So I really am sure that for folks that have businesses, why would you have employees on workers' compensation? Oh, well, if you have an employee that gets hurt on the job there, then that's what would pay for it. Now, whether or not you would keep such an employee, that's strictly up to you. I don't know what you might do with that after the fact if they got hurt on the job. Most people want to keep them on the payroll just to make sure that as soon as they get better that they come back to work because they needed that employee. If it was a bad employee, I mean, it's a whole different ball game. So those 2 points, the audits on your work comp is something that every year that you will actually get an audit. That what'll happen is the company will look to see how much payroll that you had, and thank you so much for the hearts, y'all. How much payroll did you have? But you want to make sure that they are actually looking at the right classifications, because a lot of businesses out there do more than one thing. It is generally higher for construction than it is for an office job. If somebody's just got a clerical, and sometimes they may employ a secretary and a foreman in electrical contracting. I mean, you may have both. You want to make sure that you've got the right payrolls for the right positions. So that's the number one. But the number two is something that a lot of people don't know about. I'm wondering, all the years that I wasn't audited, can I request a refund? You should go back and actually check with your insurance carrier from that time period, because you want to make sure that that you did get an audit, that they did actually double check to make sure the payrolls were correct, that they were charging you for, and that it was for the right classifications. But what can you do as far as just the overall rate? How can you make sure that you are getting the best rate for workers' compensation? That actually has to do with making sure that you're taking good care of your employees, making sure that they're safe, making sure that they're well trained. Why would you have your employees on workers' compensation? And actually, I work in an insurance agent because I'm an insurance agency, and we do have workers' compensation because any number of us could, even here in an office, get hurt. And so, we make sure that we have workers' compensation insurance as well, because anytime you have a worker, an employee, they could get hurt doing anything, bending over to pick up a file or fall off a ladder, etc. In some cases, it is required, as Cynthia was asking. A lot of states require, once you get to a certain number of employees, that you would actually be required to carry it. So I really, and really, that's one of the things, as Big L Kyle says, in South Carolina, you can't get contracts without. And really, the main thing is people could trip over their own feet anywhere. You can definitely get hurt bending over and picking something up. Much less, this fact that something could hurt somebody when they're even in the business of an office. So if you have to file a claim, here's the things to know about what it does to your insurance, because this is really the one thing I wanted to get out, and then I will make sure that I get off of here so it respect to your day and your time, is that if you have employees that happen to work for you that you've got workers' compensation for, making sure that they're trained, making sure that they're safe, that everything is safe in your office, safe in your manufacturing plant and so forth, nothing that they're going to trip and fall over, nothing that's actually going to happen to them on the job, that's good. But the thing that you need to be aware of is when you go to file a claim, that it is actually worse as far as rates go if you have to file lots of small claims than if you have to file a large one. That's just something to know, and that actually does go back to keeping the atmosphere safe, making sure you've got the right employees for the right jobs. I mean, somebody who actually knows what they're doing and isn't going to hurt themselves is very important. Hey, Reagan, thanks so much for coming on. And I really do appreciate all the rest of you that have had so many great questions this morning. It's been awesome. I don't want to keep you. I think that some of you might pick up some stuff from the replay. If not, I will definitely be answering some of these questions again in future Periscopes. If you have some specific questions about insurance, email me, insurancewisetracy@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer those questions. Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for joining. The questions have been great this morning, so keep them coming. I'm really looking forward to future Periscopes. I'll be joining in the mornings from now on, so I'll be catching you next week. I hope that everybody has a great weekend. And how can I file a workers' compensation claim with my insurance? I'm not hurt. Yeah, you don't want to lie about things like that. It is called fraud, and it's something that that they do investigate. So be careful about those things. Y'all take care, all of you that are in small businesses today. Have a really great day. I appreciate all of you who joined me today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Meanwhile, have a great rest of your day. Happy Friday.